All right. We're back with another edition of the. I don't know what happened to the music, but we'll stop it. We're back with another edition of the Leo G Show. I'm Leo G, and podcasting is what we like to do here, man. We are setting up for another one here. We're gonna put this out to you, people, man. We got a lot to talk about tonight, so we're gonna drop this and let you guys see how you feel about it. But before we get into it, man, let's go ahead and get everybody. Y'all know who everybody. Well, we got a new addition to the show, ladies and gentlemen. Out there to the east, my man Derek Cole. New addition to the show. Welcome back.
Hey, what's up, guys? Y'all all right over there? It's Friday afternoon.
We got not the Starbucks.
Yeah, that's where I'm at today.
That boy got some Starbucks, man. That man been gone for a minute, man. He back brand new, refreshed. He looks well, and hope all was well, and hope you had a good time.
Absolutely. When you get away, you get on a cruise ship, there's nothing to do but relax and watch people watch. And that's exactly what I did. People watch. But it's good to be back. Got a little tan. Probably match my sunglasses, but it's all good.
It is what it is. Down there on the south, man. What's going on? Banks, what's up, my brother?
How you doing, Leo? How you feeling, Derek Cole? What's going on with you fellas?
Fantabulous.
We doing it. We making it do what we do here, man. As we record tonight, we're gonna take it light, talk about a few things, man, and we're gonna put this out and drop it when we do. Not live tonight, but we got a lot to talk about still here because Atlanta sports is what we do, and it's a lot of stuff to talk about, man. So before we get into it, like we always do, fellas, y'all know what time it is. It's fit check and it's drink check. I'm gonna pass it over to you, Banks, down there on the south, man. Let me know what you got on and what you're drinking.
Man, just doing something simple, man. I got a little braids, little shirt. And I'm doing something real light, fellas. Not doing anything too hard. I'm just doing some Red Bull. That's all I'm doing today, fellas. And that's all I'm on. I'm real light today, fellas, so you might not get a whole lot of dialogue from me. So
Okay, that's what's up, man. But I'm pretty sure we'll get you fired up in just a moment. Send it out there to my man on the east, man. We already saw what you're drinking, man, but let everybody know what you got going on.
Hey, I'm drinking some a caramel macchiato from Starbucks. And, well, that's what I'm drinking now. It was on my off day, so I started a little earlier. So early, I was on that Buffalo Trace and had a little beer. But you know how that works. But hey, I'm representing the Atlanta Black Crackers tonight. Since we're gonna talk about the Negro League, so I had to represent. But I do have something I just want to highlight this one time. I don't know if I did it before, but y'all can see where this bottle at. This Uncle Nearest single barrel that I don't put a dent in, baby. Me and some other folks, I'll just say that, been testing out this Uncle Nearest single barrel, which is exquisite, by the way. Shout out to Fawn River out there in Shelby, Tennessee, holding it down for Uncle Nearest, and she making sure that black-owned company don't get bought out by them other folks. So I shout out to Fawn Weaver being a woman boss out there at Uncle Nearest.
All right, man. Shout out Uncle Nearest and Fun up there doing their thing, man. And you ain't got to tell no lies, man. We know you dented that yourself, but we gonna keep that on the low. listen, fellas. I got it. We're gonna talk a little baseball tonight, man. So y'all see it. It's the Atlanta. It's both the T's. I had to say it. Atlanta edition. You know what I'm saying? This was, the navy blue. I don't think they rocked this in a while, but this is one of my favorite jerseys that they've dropped here over the last decade or so here with the fresh. I don't care. Some people say it's offensive, but whatever the case, it's the hawk up there. It's the tomahawk, man. Y'all see it to match the jersey. So we're gonna talk a little MLB tonight, and like Derrico said, we'll also talk about something that's cool that has happened and is being recognized by the MLB with the Negro leagues at this time. So, fellas, let's go ahead and get right on into the meat of the show. First off, we'll talk MLB. We'll talk a little bit about the Atlanta Braves because it's been a minute, right, Banks? It's been a minute since we talked about these Atlanta Braves, right?
yeah, it's been a minute. So fellas, man, a lot has been going on in Major League Baseball. Not too I can say about the local team, but it's good to talk some good Major League Baseball today. For me, I have a lot to say about what's going on. Unfortunately, we having a lot of downs, and a lot of injuries. Not sure what you want to kick off first, Leo. I don't want to overstep you. Um, but what I see is that they need some help. So Anthopoulos, if you listen to this, get to work, buddy. You got to try to get us some help.
Yeah, coming in. I mean, yeah, it's a lot going on right now. Usually around this time, we're talking about the Braves chugging on along. Obviously in the off season. Well, not just in the off season, but coming into the season, we lost one of our aces in the pitching rotation in Spencer Strider. He went out. So he's going to be gone for the year. And as we are recording currently, we have just lost one of our superstars out in the outfield, Ronald Acuna Jr. So he's going to be out for the season. Tears the ACL in the other leg. And it's just a bad break for this Atlanta Braves team. Passing over here to Derrico, man. It seems like, there were a lot of expectations, high expectations going into this season, especially after how it ended last year. And now, this is what happened in the life of sports. You get injured, you get injuries, but everybody has to step up and have to keep on going. Right now, going into July, as we record this show, I think we're about 6 games out of the Phillies who are just, they playing some ball up there. But Derrico, what's the outlook now that you lost Strider and now you lose Acuna? So what's the outlook now with the Braves and what they must do moving forward to try to keep this thing afloat?
I don't know about the outlook, but I just want to piggyback on going back when we did the drink check and the fit check. I only saw you do the fit check, so I guess you're not drinking nothing. You can just tell us you're just drinking water, Gatorade. You might be pumping over some skim milk, low fat milk. I mean, what is it? Nothing.
Hey man, sometimes I get ahead of myself, man. I got some bourbon that I poured in my glass over there. I grabbed the bottle and poured it. I was kind of running. I had something to do real quick. I think I poured up some new riff I got going on over there. Nothing featured tonight, but I do have a couple of shots in the glass over there, some new riff. But go
Okay.
ahead, sir. Thank you for bringing
Hey,
that.
I just want to
Bringing
make.
that to the
I just want to make sure. Hey, all I can say is about the injuries. Injuries do happen. You know what I'm saying? Like we said, we miss our ace in the whole Strider, and now we missing our MVP from last year, Acuna. Only thing I can say, and I keep saying this, I've been saying this, even saying it on the ship. One thing I know, the last time that Acuna tore ACL, we won the World Series. So I'm gonna hold on to that. You know what I'm saying? We starting off slow, like the Phillies started off slow last year. Now they starting off like game busters. So hey, it's gonna be a switch. So I'm gonna be all right.
I also want to add, fellas, that we also lost Tyler Masick, and we also not sure the extent of the injury of Mentor, but we also lost him. But I don't know for how long. It ain't just Striders, not just Acuna, fellas. It's across the board. We're just now getting our catcher back. He was out for since the beginning of the season. Um, it's I hear what y'all saying about the switcheroo with the Phillies. What they have started last year, they were slow and they whooped our tails in October. So maybe it's probably a good thing that we're not jumping out the gate, being 15, 16 games up into the division before July. It's something I guess a lot of Braves fans are not used to being in this situation. But a good champion will always answer to adversity. Do they not?
I mean, I
I mean,
have
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I have no concerns at this point, really. I mean, like Derrico said, injuries happen in all the professional sports. Injuries happen in life. I mean, I stubbed my toe getting out of bed this morning. That's a whole different story. But listen, you got to get through it. And that's why these guys get paid the big bucks. That's why the front offices, are paid. This is where, like you said, Banks, Alex Anthopoulos is going to have to go out and find us some help. I don't know if we have anybody internally that's going to come in. One thing last year that I noticed with the Braves is, the bats were hot. The bats were hot, man. I mean, you could not stop us from hitting the baseball last year. It was like they were seeing beach balls come up there to the plate. We have a couple of people that have had some hot bats, like with Marcell Ozuna and a couple of other people. They've been doing their thing, man. But it's just the air has kind of been let out of the room, like you said, Banks, with some of the injuries. But this is a marathon, fellas, with baseball. We know it's definitely not a sprint, and there's plenty of baseball in front of us, right, to get back to where we need to get to. And like Derrico just said, man, in 2021, when we lost Acuna to the tear, we ended up winning the whole thing. I mean, obviously not the same team, not the same circumstances, but you just never know, man. You got to stay positive and you got to stay focused. And I think we got the right people in position to do this, man. You know, this is not Snedeker's first rodeo, right? This dude has been here. He's been in baseball for a long time, damn near half a century. So if anybody can steer the ship, I think it's him and kind of get us in position to at least make the postseason. And we have seen Alex Anthopoulos work his magic, right? Going back to that 2021 season, we saw him go out and get the likes of Jock Peterson and go out and get Solar. So, I mean, there's still some time to bring some people in to help this thing out. And 6 games in baseball when it's still, I don't know what, 50 plus left, you know, we got plenty of time. I don't know how many exactly we still have left, but it's quite a few. Banks, how many games do we still have left? I mean, we're going into
it's 100. It's 100. It's 100.
Oh, it's
so, so let me bring this situation up, guys. We're not hitting the ball. We just lost a series to the Nationals, probably one of the probably the weaker teams in the Major League Baseball. But if you can recall back in that World Series year a couple years ago, I think we were 9 games back. I think after the All-Star break. And going into August and September, you know, we decided that we wanted to hit the ball finally. And we carried that all the way through October and got us another championship. We're not hitting the ball right now. And, you know, I'm gonna also put this in comparison to last year. Like you just said, we were hitting beach balls out there. We were hitting everything. And then we got to October. We kept the bats on our shoulders and, you know, let Phillies embarrass us. And you had a lot of people scratching their heads like, well, all that hitting we did last year, where did it go? Well, you know, baseball is all about, you know, being in a rhythm, being hot at the right time. I kind of like the fact that we're not hitting the ball right now. Maybe we're going to start swinging the bats around by August and September. And then I don't know, Derek Cole. Maybe it is repeat up to 2021, where we get hot, and in October we be talking about another World Series without Acuna. Wouldn't that be something? That'd be kind of ironic, you know. But you know, it has
Yeah.
happened in sports, so I mean, why not?
So Banks, I hear you, and Leo, I'm gonna respectfully agree on you about Snicker. This gonna be the Snicker test. Like this year is gonna be the test and see how he can manage without having a fully loaded squad. Like you said, Banks earlier, we missing Nutsack, we missing Mentor, who sometimes he'll give up 3 runs an inning on relief anyway. So this gonna be the test to see what Snicker do. But this is why I want to ask y'all: like, are we missing Ron Washington and Young over there that's giving this team some moxie? Because I don't see no moxie, I don't see no swag, I don't see nothing but folks going out there participating in baseball right now. What y'all think about that?
Man,
You know, that's a good question. That's a great question. You know, I heard that from somebody about, you know, Ron Washington left the building. You know, what's that, gonna do, from that third base side, and we've been a lot of bad base running this year too, fellas. So it's something to think about, man. I didn't want to think about it, but I'm like, we lost a couple of good guys off that roster, off that whole team, to be honest with you. I don't know anything about these 2 guys we got out there now. And whatever they doing, they're not doing it. So
Well, I mean, it's just like anything else. I will say this much. Yes, Ron Washington brought something special to this team. And, this is Ron Washington was here, I don't know how many years, but, Ron Washington, once again, was one of those guys that's been around baseball for almost his entire life and coaching. He's out there in Cali. Shout out to him. I don't know exactly what they're doing with the Angels, but listen, I got to give these guys a little bit of time. I mean, the guys that are out there, forgive me because I don't know their names. Yeah, they probably, the third base guy does not have all of the knowledge and wisdom that Ron Washington had. But, I mean, they're trying to get it together. And in sports, a lot of times this word comes up a lot, continuity. And with coaches, like you said, Derek Cole, Snit knows his team, and you have to know your strengths. You have to know your weakness. You have to know your weaknesses almost better than you know your actual strength. So you can start to figure out what you need to do and how you can play off of certain things. So these coaches are learning these guys as well. And like you said, it hadn't helped with some of the injuries and things of that nature, but I'm pretty sure it's a lot of baseball left. They can get this thing together and turned around, man. I mean, you know, it's growing pains. And sometimes when you have new coaches and new people, man, it's just one of those things where you got to, you know, click and gel. That's it, man. So hopefully, I mean, they'll get it together and moving down the stretch. When it counts, Banks, we can start seeing some better base running, some better decisions being made. And also, like you said, man, you know, the old saying was with this team here in Atlanta, man, as the weather gets hotter, the Braves bats get better. So, you know, I mean, it's starting to get hot. We're starting to push into June and we'll start to push into July and the dog days or something into August. So maybe those beach balls will start to appear again, man, and they'll start slapping the thing around the yard. But it's growing pains and just par for the course when it comes to you know, things that happen in professional sports, period. Derek, I'm gonna bring it over to you here before we change the topic for just a second. Alex Anthopoulos, you talked about Snit and how he's gonna make his bread this year by trying to get this thing all together. But Alex Anthopoulos has been a great GM to the Braves, and he's been able to put some things together for us. And one of the things, you know, bring a chip here in 2021. Like I said, adding the additions when we lost Acuna. Do you foresee him having the foresight, I guess, to have a plan in place right now before we pull up to the deadline, trying to get some reinforcements in here as you would to make sure we'll be okay to make a push later on in the season?
Oh, I have no doubt that Anthopoulos can do what he need to do. The problem that we're gonna run into is that I think, if I'm not mistaken, Banks, you can correct me if I'm wrong. We're already in the top 5 in the salaries in the league, so it just gonna depends on how much money the Atlanta Braves ownership group are gonna allow them to actually spend. Since we are down like 3 or 4 people, I mean, you got to replace a top pitcher. You got to relieve 2 top relievers, an outfielder. So that's like 4 top people in our rotation that we have to replace. So that's going to cost some money to go out there and get the same type of quality, if not better. So it just depends on what the Atlanta, the media, whatever they are. I don't even know what they are. I just say the MLB group that owns Atlanta Braves right now. They got to say, hey, do we want to open up this purse string a little more to bring in some other folks? And that's what's going to make it a difference. If they don't, I don't know what Anthopoulos can do if he don't have the go ahead to go out there and spend some.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, we'll see if he works his magic. I feel as though, you know, and we don't know what they have going on internally either, that over at Gwinnett and what they have, you know, in the system. I mean, they could have some guys in the system that we don't know about that they're thinking about bringing up and could make a difference. I don't know. We'll see. But that changes are going to have to be made. We know that we're going to have to get some reinforcements to help this team out because, like you said, we're kind of hurting. Banks, I was able to look that up. We are in the top 5 as far as salaries are concerned. We are right at number 5. You got, of course, the 2 New York teams. You got the Astros, Philly, and then we round out the top 5 as far as salaries are concerned. Banks, your thoughts on
the top 5?
No. So Toronto follows the Braves, and I do not see where the Dodgers come in at number 9. Dodgers come in at number 9. They come in at number 9. So,
well, I guess all that deferred money they played to show what's his name, Shohei, that's probably why, because ain't no way in HE double hockey stick they shouldn't be in the top 5 of salaries with all them people over there.
Understood. Banks, your thoughts on Alex Anthopoulos with everything that we just discussed here, man, the money situation. Do you still have faith? I mean, because some GMs just have it, man. I feel like, you know, Anthopoulos can work his magic. I mean, we've always had a great farm system, so there might be some young talent internally that we can probably look at, but there probably are some players out there that we can squeeze in. Obviously, he had to get the sign off, like you said, Derek Cole from Liberty Media, but I mean, you know, Anthopoulos has been a very, very key component in the success of the Braves here, and I think that, you know, he should be able to get something done. Wouldn't you say so, Banks?
Absolutely, guys. Listen, and Alex Anthopoulos has done everything but turn water into wine here around these parts. When he was here, you know what I'm saying, he brought in guys like Eddie Rosario, Jock Peterson, Jorge Soler, bringing these guys in. And I recall when he did it, I was like, who are these guys and what are they about to do? Absolutely nothing. These guys were key components to our team to that championship run, fellas. And they came off the street in a sense. They came off you know, the scrap heap, if you will, to be like emergency outfield that we didn't have back then. Alex Anthopoulos knew the assignment. He had to go do what he had to do and get these guys in here, and they came here and produced. I have no doubt that he's going to do the same thing for us this year. Anything he has done so far, fellas, that he's really showed that he can answer the bell. So I don't have a doubt that he can muck this up. Even if he did, he gets a pass from me. That's just how I respect the man.
I guess when you get a trophy in the case, man, you get a little more leniency, right? You know what I'm saying? Ain't nobody mugging you too hard when you get a ship in the case. So I mean, hey, we'll see. Time will tell. Like Banks said, several games, 100 games. We're just going into the month of June here. You know, like I said, baseball is a marathon and not a sprint. A little adversity to deal with here, but I think that, you know, when it's all said and done, the Braves will be in prime position to do something going into the fall and hopefully when, you know, make some magic happen. We all see how all of these components, Anthopoulos and the players that we have, the coaches, all this stuff kind of gel together and make this thing run, right, fellas? So listen, I want to talk a little bit about something else that we just heard about here in the MLB that just happened not just the other day here. That I think is pretty cool, and I think it needs to be discussed, and we need to talk about it. And I don't know why it happened sooner, but the MLB has now decided to include Negro League stats in its historical records. And this is very, very significant, guys, because we know, I mean, not to give a history lesson, but we know there were a lot of black players that were extremely good that could not play in Major League Baseball. We all know that Jackie Robinson was the first African American to integrate Major League Baseball, but prior to him, the Negro Leagues is where a lot of black and African American talent could go showcase their talent, obviously. And from what I understand, there was just a treasure trove of talent over there in the Negro Leagues. So this is a huge step that the MLB has done because these men deserve to be recognized because they were professional baseball players. They played professionally, and there was a high level of baseball that was played in the Negro Leagues. I listened to the story from my own grandfather, who was an actual baseball player, a lefty pitcher who tried out for a couple of Negro League teams and talked about just the tremendous talent that these men had playing for some of these teams. Like you have on the Atlanta Black Crackers, the Homestead Grays. I mean, the list goes on and on. There were a lot of Negro League teams and a lot of talent. So, fellas, MLB has now included Negro League stats, and we'll talk about a couple of the players that are now at GOAT status here in just a moment. But I just want to get you guys' thoughts on the MLB doing this and why did it take so long? Banks, give it over to you here first, man. This is something huge, man. It's very significant and it's not to be sneezed at, man. Negro League players are now integrated into the historical stats of Major League Baseball.
What a wonderful feat. How does it take so long? I have no idea, Leo. Um, I'm just a loss of words. I really don't know what to say. I just think that it was, something that should have been done years ago. For me, I'm glad there's no clapback from people who had like stuff to say about, the stats that was already there, And for me, I think that, I think it was correct me if I'm wrong about a couple of home runs that Hank Aaron did, back in the Negro Leagues. They're not going to count it. If I read that correctly, I think it was 6 home runs that's not going to be counted. I don't know how true that is, but And that's what's confusing to me. Like, why won't you count it? But you can count everything else. But I don't know. I digress. But for yes, it's about time, Leo. Should have been done years ago. I'm glad Major League Baseball stood up and made that move.
Hey man, like I said, I immediately, got a little emotional because, like I said, listening to stories from my grandfather talk about the Negro Leagues and just how he spoke so highly of his time. He tried out for the I think it was the Birmingham Black Barons, and just the talent that he saw, man, and listening to him talk about it and how just those guys, if they would have went into Major League Baseball, they probably we all know how Major League Baseball would have looked if they would have been able to play and integrate at the time that they were in. Derek Cole, giving over to you, man. Just your thoughts on where we are and how the MLB is now recognizing all of the Negro League stats in their historical records.
Yeah, I mean, like you say, it's long overdue. That's number one. I'm not sure why it took so long, but we can have a biased opinion of why it took so long. And if Banks is correct on the fact that they're not adding the home runs from um, Jackie Robinson to his current total, like it's kind of it's almost like a mute point. Like, what stats are they adding? Are they adding on top of what's already there? If someone moved from the Negro League to the MLB, to me that's a critical point for me. If they're not adding the stats to someone that actually went over to the MLB, then to me it's like a, a symbolism, token symbolism that you're just gonna tack on the stats from the Negro League and have an asterisk over there and say this was a Negro League player. And I think that's going to be a disservice to anybody that played in the Negro League that went over to the MLB. Hey, add the stats. If not, then what are you doing? Is it just some symbolism, token symbolism? And then I don't know, Bank. I haven't read any backlash because I've been kind of off the internet for a minute. So I need to go and check and see if there is a backlash from folks saying why bring the Negro League stats over to MLB when they didn't play in the MLB.
So listen, just to clarify, because I did get some information, I did a little research, fellas. So there is an actual Negro League Statistical Review Committee because the Negro League, let's just be real about this, fellas. I don't know if you guys have probably researched and read about the Negro League. There were a lot of teams, specific like the Atlanta Black Crackers. They were in the Negro League, but they were only in the league for a short period of time. I want to say it was less than 5 years. I want to say it was like 2 years that they were in, and there were several teams around the country that were in and out. These teams went defunct, fellas. Just to give you a little history, I mean, it was very, very difficult, man, to do the Negro League, man, because it took a lot of money. I mean, some of these Negro League teams, they barnstormed, they did what they had to do. I mean, I've read stories about, guys, literally everybody having to find their own transportation, say, hey, we're gonna meet, in Kansas City to play the Monarchs in 2 days, man. We'll see you, we'll see you. As their, white counterparts in the MLB had, transportation already, strategically mapped out to make their away games and things of that nature. So, but there is a committee that has been reviewing the stats to be able to actually find, like, I guess, official stats to be able to verify and intertwine them with MLB. So there's a lot that's been into this process. I mean, if you want to go research, I mean, like I said, I did do a little bit of reading, but if you want to go do some research on your own, you can look at it. But I want to talk about a couple of the players that are now in the history books of MLB that are just, in my opinion, it's mind blowing. First person, Josh Gibson. When you talk about baseball, I don't care if you talk about MLB or Negro League baseball, Josh Gibson names always comes up. And now Josh Gibson tops Ty Cobb as having the best career batting average ever at 372. From what I understand, Josh Gibson was a hell of a baseball player. He played for the Homestead Grays, was just an all-around beast. So now he tops Ty Cobb as having the best batting average in baseball. Then you talk about guys like Oscar Charleston. You talk about guys like Turkey Stearns. You talk about guys like Mule Suddis, Buck Leonard, and of course, who could forget about the ageless Satchel Paige? I mean, these men and their stats obviously get to go into the record books amongst their white counterparts. And I just think that's huge, and it's really, really big. Derrico, just to bring it back over to you, man. Josh Gibson now goated status as, one of the greatest baseball players ever, Negro League or Major League Baseball, man. Well deserved. I mean, obviously, he wasn't able to see it, man. But I just, his family and people that have followed baseball, man, I just think it's a great thing, man, for him to be honored in that way, right?
Oh, absolutely. Especially when you're talking about, if you pull up the MLB stats, all-time stat totals right now. Let me take my shades off because I can't read without them spectaculars. If you're talking about in 653 games, he had 2255 at bats, had 631 runs, 838 hits, 139 doubles, 60 triples, 174 home runs, 751 RBIs. They put him right now above Mr. Babe Ruth. If that's official and he's above Babe Ruth, please give that man his flowers again, because he absolutely, positively deserve it. Which you talking about less than almost 1,900 games. I don't know about y'all, but 1,900 games is a lot.
It is. It's quite a few, man. And like I said, when you start looking at the statistics for some of the Negro League players in comparison to their counterparts over the MLB, man, it's astonishing what they were able to accomplish, especially through all the adversity. Like I said, man, just Derrico, and we're not even going to talk about going into some of the conditions that some of these guys had to play these games in, right? I mean, like, they're counted officially, man, but they didn't have the facilities, they didn't have the equipment as their MLB counterparts, and they were doing this, day in and day out. You read stories about how Satchel Paige, pitched games, 4 or 5 days in a row, right? Who does that, right? You know what I'm saying? You just imagine pitching game 5 days in a row, you know what I'm saying? City to city. I mean, these guys, they love this game, and I'm so glad that they're able to be. And I know I sound like a broke record, but this is well overdue for them to be put in, with their counterparts, man, because there was so much that they had to deal with and so much adversity in order to continue this and to make this happen. Banks, I'm gonna pass over you. Yes, sir.
With all that said, also, Leo, don't forget about the racial tension that they had to endure. Constantly being heckled by, the 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 white fans. I mean, I'm just being trying to just keep it real as much as I can. They were constantly called the N word. It was constantly been treated like crap. I mean, in so many words, they even to like in the 70s, Hammer and Hank had threats, you better not break this record, or else, we're gonna kill your family and all that mess. This was going on since till the 70s, guys. Like, this was not just going on and it stopped when, they integrated whatever. But I think the whole Negro League stats coming into Major League Baseball, and then you had to see what they had to endure. Besides the like you said, the constant work that they had to do, the racial tension, the racial pressure, I think that should trump all adversity they had to go through, and then they still came out on top. It's very impressive. Um, I can't even. I was even hearing my grandfather talk about, some of the things that they were actually, going through when he was growing up as a little boy. They couldn't even walk to the stadium. They had to walk all the way around, like the long way. They couldn't cut down the main street and then go to the stadium. They had to go walk around, and then they had to, walk in through the back. These are players. They had to come through the back. They couldn't even come through the front like everybody else. Like, I didn't. That's unbelievable for them to still do what they do. And have that in their ear. Like, somebody's calling you out your name, and then you still go out there, you beast on them. I mean, you still beasting on them, no matter what they calling you, how they treating you, how you got to come through the back, how you got to, you know to be threatened not to come to the next city because blacks not welcome. That's strong, y'all. That's strong.
It is.
That's even more impressive.
Make no mistake about it, man. These men that play in the Negro League were pioneers in sports, period. Not just in baseball, but in all professional sports, because they paved the way for a lot of black athletes to be where they are today. So we owe a lot to the Negro League and the men that played, and we owe a lot to the likes of Jackie Robinson. And you know, I couldn't imagine being the first, but hey, listen, it's been a lot. I don't want to go too far down. Maybe we can come back and revisit this and talk a little bit more about the Negro Leagues and the significance and the importance of this, man. Importance of this. But I just had to make sure that we talked about it and get it out there, man. But because it's huge, and I'm getting a little emotional, like and I'm Banks, and I'm pretty sure Derek, you feel some type of way about just where we are and how this has come about now, and these men are getting it. I mean, they've always gotten their due, but now just to be in the book right next to their counterparts, man, I feel like it's a wonderful thing, man, and it's great recognition for these guys. So listen, we're gonna move on here, man, and talk about something else. Second half of the show. Something that we hadn't talked about in a while. Leave the guys a little bit of basketball, a little bit of NBA basketball here as we talk about the NBA Finals. As we record this show, the NBA Finals are about to start up here in just a second. Boston Celtics against the Dallas Mavericks. Derek Cole, man, I know you've been gone for a minute. Probably was on that cruise ship watching cricket or whatever. But Dallas Mavericks versus the Boston Celtics before we start talking about the home team Hawks, man. How do you feel about this matchup, man?
I'm gonna be honest. I mean, I'm not interested because it's Boston and Dallas. I'm just being honest. I'm being real. I would have rather seen like two upstart teams go into the finals. Boston, I think at this point, has the advantage based on the team that has been built and solidified. I think they have the advantage, but I'm not gonna. How do I want to phrase it? I'm not gonna count out Dallas because of Kyrie and Luka. You know what I'm saying? If it goes to be a series, I hope it goes to 6 or 7 games. I just hope it don't be a snooze fest because neither team at this point, to me, is that exciting to watch. You know what I'm saying? It's just like watching two Ivy League teams play basketball, and that just ain't exciting to me. That's just me personally.
I mean, I think being a Hawks fan, man, and Boston always kind of makes me cringe. Any professional sports team out of Boston makes me cringe, but that's a whole nother story. So we'll talk about the Hawks here in just a minute. I think we'll always kind of be tethered to the legacy of one specific player when it comes to Luka Doncic in Dallas. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about that, and we'll get into it in just a moment. I don't want to get too far off into the weeds, but I'm gonna give it over to you, Banks, here, man. NBA Finals coming up. Dallas Mavericks, Boston Celtics, man. What's your take on this matchup? And then I want to talk about something else before we start talking about the home team as well, Banks.
I can care less. Like you, Derek Cole, I haven't even got 2 flips about Boston Celtics, and I'm just gonna be honest. I just realized that Dallas moved on. I wasn't really paying attention, but I can care less about this finals matchup. I mean, if it ended tomorrow, I won't lose sleep about it. So yeah.
So listen, before we talk about the Hawks, Dallas obviously closed out the series with the Minnesota Timberwolves. And there's an Atlanta storyline there, man. There's a young man by the name of Anthony Ant-Man Edwards that plays for Minnesota and who has now started to coming to his own and is now becoming one of the top players in the league. And he's from Atlanta. He's from Atlanta. He started playing his high school career at Thera High School, went to UGA for a second. Now he's in the NBA playing for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Derek Cole, man, there was a storyline that a lot of people here from Atlanta were actually, you know, rooting for this young man because he's from Atlanta. And this dude, let me tell you something. If you haven't seen him, I mean, this dude is the truth. And let me tell you something, man. He is true to the ATL too, man. If you listen to his press conferences, if you listen to him talk, first and foremost, I want to say this because a lot of people have gotten a wrong impression about this man. This is a humble young man. He lost his grandmother and his mother back before, you know, he got into the NBA. I want to say before he went into the draft. He's a humble young man, but he is authentic. Let me tell you something. This man embodies Atlanta. When he talks and he speaks, he is Atlanta, west side of Atlanta as they come. So a lot of people from Atlanta have taken a like to him and has been following him for a while in his basketball journey. Derek O, how do you feel about Ant-Man and how he's come, you know, making it to the Western Conference Finals and what he was able to accomplish?
I like the fact that, one, he stays true to who he is. Like, he's not trying to change who he is to be marketable, and I love it. Ant-Man, I think one thing he needs, he's going to need someone to replace Rudy Gobert, because I just think, for me, that was the weak link on their team, and for some reason they just had to put him out there because he's 7-footer and a multi defensive player of the year. But when you need offense, that don't help, because I've seen where this dude catch passes and it looked like me out there catching a pass from an NBA player. I don't need to be on the court, and that's what it looked like with Rudy Gobert. He's an offensive liability. But as far as Ant-Man is concerned, I'm happy for him. You know what I'm saying? He didn't get a fair shake because everybody started hyping him up. And then you know what happens when they start hyping you up and you don't live up to the expectation. Then they start tearing you down. And unfairly, I think they started tearing him down before it got to the point where, you know, he's early on in his career. So let the man breathe. Now I want to pivot back to Boston and say we got another player over there from the Atlanta area. I'm gonna say area because you know how we do. Well, it's Marietta, but he's claiming Atlanta. You know, Jaylen Brown is straight from Wheeler High School, and everybody know that Wheeler High School was putting out mucho talent in college and the NBA. So if I'm not gonna do anything else, I'm gonna root for Jaylen Brown to bring it home since Ant-Man can't.
Man, it threw up in my mouth. I'm sorry. Much respect to Jaylen Brown, but I don't know about that green and white. Banks, I'm gonna give it over to you. Your thoughts on Ant-Man before we talk about our hometown team at the Atlanta Hawks.
Ant-Man should be playing here in his hometown. Um, I watched this man highlights, and he's the only one so far that I've seen in a long time where I had to actually rewind my TV to watch it again. It was one particular one. He yanked it back, and I don't remember the ball going through the hoop. He did it so fast, and that's the kind of energy he brings to the court every single night. And I don't want to go further, stepping on into the home team, but I think that right there is what this city was looking for, in that kind of reincarnating of Mr. Highlight Reel himself, and I love the guy. I love the kid. You know what I'm saying? Much respect, much luck for him up there in Minnesota. But like I said, he should have been here in the A.
I agree. I agree. He should have been, man. That's a whole another topic of conversation, man. Shout out. We always talk about the whole 6 degrees of separation or just, Atlanta and how you flow. So, man, I want to shout out to one of my partners, Bino, man. Shout out to my boy Bino, man, who's very, very close to my man Ant-Man. Shout out to Bino, man. Shout out to my boy William Welcome, too, who's very, very close to Ant-Man. Y'all know who y'all are and what y'all do for Ant. So, for real, man, keep doing this thing, man. I wish he would have been a Hawk. Obviously, that's a whole nother topic of conversation, but we're going to get into these Atlanta Hawks right about now. So, Atlanta Hawks, listen, something crazy happened. I don't know what happened. I don't know why, but if you didn't know, the Atlanta Hawks somehow ended up with these Powerball statistics statistical anomaly. You know, the chances of them getting the number one pick were crazy. But guess what? We ended up getting the number one pick in the 2024 NBA draft. And I chuckle because it's like, man, for years I have wanted the Hawks to get the number one pick in the draft, man, because I've seen guys like, man, we need to get this guy, we need to get that guy. And, you know, it's almost to a thing with the NBA is where, like, if you get the number one pick, it's hard to mess it up. You can mess it up, but it's kind of hard. But this year, it's a little the circumstances are a little different. But first time ever in the history, the Hawks have the number one pick. Banks, this is wild. This is kind of crazy to kind of wrap our head around because we've never seen this before. We don't know what to expect, especially with the ownership group here that we have and Landry Fields. I don't know, man. Just your thoughts first and foremost on the Hawks actually getting the number one pick, man.
Out of all my years on this earth, as being an Atlanta sports fan, to actually grow up to see, you know, sit in that Omni and watch the Hawks. Shout outs to the Omni folks who remember it. To sit there and see something that happened, what was like a 14% chance, but you got the number one pick in this draft. In this draft. And you know, it kind of it kind of fell on me so fast. I'm like, you know what? Of course it did. Because that's an Atlanta thing to do. You will get us the number one pick in this draft. Of course you did. I'm gonna take you back, fellas. You said you can't mess up a number one pick. You actually can. Ask Portland Trailblazers, where they had a decision to make between Kevin Durant or that 45-year-old man that kept saying he was a college student. And they end up picking him instead of Kevin Durant. They messed it up. You can't absolutely mess up this first round pick. I don't even know who's coming out of this draft, fellas. But I know when I looked and I glanced through it, no one jumped off the page, and I'm like, you know what? And it's shame on me for assuming, because you know you can have a Hall of Famer or all pro player in every single draft, but this particular one, I'm like, yeah, that would be the year that Atlanta get number one pick in this class. Absolutely. Perfect NBA. I appreciate you so much. That's something that Atlanta fans can really just embrace you for, because that's the most Atlanta thing, right? I can't even make that. I can't make it up. You can't make it up. Derico, you can't make it up either.
So listen, Banks. I don't want to. So first and foremost, man, I don't want to discredit any of the talent that's coming out in this draft. Right? We just don't know. I mean, we just don't know. None of us have a crystal ball. We're not clairvoyant, right? We don't know. We just have to wait and see. And yes, this can't. Greg Odom was 57 years old playing college basketball when the Portland Trailblazers drafted him. I don't even think that man played 3 years. But I digress. Listen, I'm hoping that the Hawks can get this right. There are a lot of other issues and a lot of other things that the Hawks have to address in order to make this thing work. Derico, before I give it to you here, man, listen, it it didn't come when we wanted it to come, but it's here now. Is this important? Is this significant that wherever we go with this pick, can this actually change the dynamic of this team and take it to another level?
I mean, I'm with Banks. It's like nobody's out there just like, hey, there's a solidified number one pick like last year. However, I'm not going to sit here and act like, you know, whoever we pick at the number one pick can't change the trajectory of our team. And I'm going back to the money. It's up to wrestler before we probably even make a pick. What are you going to say to our GM that I absolutely positively have no faith in right now? Landry Fields, I'm sorry. I have no faith in you making the right decision at all. Period. Point blank. Wrestler, I have no faith in you after you lied and said that you was going to open up the purse spring, the the purse. You said that you would go into the luxury cap. Has that happened? So you lied. So I have no faith in you. I done said this before and I keep saying it again. He's more concerned about centennial yards, bringing him a profit, than he is building a championship team with the Atlanta Hawks. Yeah, he'll go in there, swag surf, and do all those because he know that he's still getting his money because people don't think it does, but the arena usually pretty much sells out a lot of times in State Farm. They got a good season ticket holder fan base, but our ownership right now, you're about to be right below the Atlanta Spirit Group if you don't open up your wallet and let us go out and get a bona fide player, get rid of Hunter, get rid of Capella, and build that roster young. You got to get some young players. You got to get some young players. The NBA is shipped to young players. Even teams like Golden State, they have older veteran players that have won championships are being kicked out of the NBA playoffs because they don't have no young players. That's what it's moving to. So that's what they got to do.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, Jalen Johnson, who's got a lot of potential here. And like I said, with this number one pick, you have the opportunity to say, hey, where do we pivot and make a change? I'm in total agreement with you. Clint Capella, what is you doing? You're not one of those versatile fives. Like, we need somebody that could come in. And there are a couple of guys that could possibly do that in the draft here coming up if the Hawks so choose to go that way. So, yeah, I don't know. Wrestler needs to get his priorities in order, like you said, man, and get this thing rolling because, yeah, we're going to support the Hawks. We're going to go down there and see them, but we want a winning product. I think this has been the most just inconsistent team in the city. I'm sorry. I mean, the Braves have obviously brought the city a championship. The Falcons have had some success, and they've had some, success over, a short period of time, not a long period of time, but a short period of time. Not a championship, but neither have the Hawks. And the Hawks have been so inconsistent. You see them good, you see them okay, you see them mediocre. It's baffling and it's mind-boggling to see, like, why can't we get this figured out? I mean, we've had a couple of GMs here over the last decade. I mean, they've kind of rotated and pivoted from different people with that and Banks. I'm gonna come to you here in just a moment. So yeah, the Hawks need to get this together in order to gain the trust back of a lot of loyal fans. Because Derek, you sound just like me, kind of disgruntled and not seeing an identity in a direction with this team and wanting to stand behind something that says, hey, this is the direction, this is our identity, and this is what we're going to do. Banks, I'm giving it over to you.
To piggyback on what both of you guys said, thinking about the front office, what I'm saying, you kind of rate the front office by team here in this city. You got the Braves up here, and you got the Hawks way down there. I, for one, I get very, very in my feelings when I hear fans in this city that want to compare other teams to the teams in the city, within the city. Like, you have your diehard Falcon fans, you have your diehard United fans, you have your diehard Braves fans, you have your diehard Hawks fans, rightfully so. But when you start having Hawks fans or Falcon fans, even Braves fans compete with each other saying, my team did this, my team did that, that's when you start saying, but it's in the same city. Hawks haven't done anything remotely close to what the Falcons have done. Let me explain. Every sports team we have has reached the championship at some point or another. Atlanta Dream made it. United made it. Braves made it. Falcons made it. Hawks haven't even. They just now talking about Eastern Conference Championship, and it's only happened twice since I've been a Hawks fan. Twice. Once you got swept, and the second time you had a fluke accident with the referee and Trae Young. That's the only 2 Eastern Conference Finals I can remember in my lifetime. So let's kill this noise about comparison. My team is better, or this team is better in this city, because you haven't got anything in the trophy case. That's the way I measure my teams. So until that happens, you know what I'm saying, you can't compare anything. Only team that can really talk is United and the Braves. That's it. They don't know who had parades. So yeah, that's my gripe with the fans that does that. But when you talk about basically teams in this city about success, and it's only one team that has never seen a championship or any sort. And do not bring up that damn St. Louis Hawks banner. If I hear another Hawks fan talk about that championship in St. Louis, I'm going to scream. Because that has nothing to do with the A. Absolutely nothing. You just hanging it up just to say we got one. Will the franchise have one? Oh, okay. Franchise have one. Oh, okay.
It was like six teams in the NBA when they won that.
Well, that was when they were doo-wopping, you know what I'm saying, the sock hops.
Peach basket.
You know, so
I wasn't even born then. Probably.
Yeah,
that's
a
a long
time. That's a long time. Yeah, let me tell you something. If you talk about anything before Derrick Cole, it's null and void.
Null and void, baby.
Hey man, listen, fellas. Yes, we are looking for the Magic.
That's gonna be the new thing. We're gonna say before Derrick Cole. If we say we all agree it's before Derrick Cole, we don't need to talk about it.
BD before Derrick Cole. We're gonna say BD before Derrick Cole, right?
Hey, I'm 100%. I am 100% on board with that one. I don't want to hear it.
Oh man, listen, it didn't exist.
You can't even put my ear with
if it was before Derrick Cole, it did not exist, obviously, right, man? So listen, Hawks do get the number 1 pick. So, fellas, I think we're all in agreement. There are a lot of things that we need to come back and talk about. We're trying to get this thing shaped up. I don't even want to go into the rabbit hole of looking at the top couple of picks, man, because we are up against the mark here. So we'll have to bring this back for a later date. Obviously, there are a lot of different things that we need to talk about. This wasn't a live show, but we love the fans. Obviously, we'll come back and we'll do a live show here momentarily, but we hope that you guys will support this and listen to it for what it's worth, man. Obviously, we love doing this, and as you can tell, we're passionate about Atlanta sports. Listen, before we close this thing up, I don't want to forget. I don't know when we are going to air this, possibly in the upcoming weeks, but we are in the middle of rebranding this thing, man. So we still want some input from you guys to help us out. We need your help on the rebrand. Going into Father's Day weekend coming up here pretty soon, here in a couple of weeks. We want your ideas. You can always send them to the leogshow@gmail.com. And we do have something special for anybody that can come up with an idea to help us rebrand this show. And we're going to bring you on and, chop it up and talk some Atlanta sports with us, man. So before we close this thing out, definitely want to let you guys know that we still are in the middle of trying to rebrand this thing before the fall comes up. And we are in need of your help. So I was about to say desperately, but we're not desperate. We just would like for our fans and our listeners and our loyal supporters to help us out on the rebrand, man. So bring it to us. All ideas. What's up?
I just want to throw this out there. If they can not come up with something, I may have had something that came to my mind. I just want to share it with y'all. Y'all can tell me what.
Whoa. So don't put it out there. We'll discuss it. Don't put it out there yet. Don't put it out there yet, because see, I don't want that. I don't want that in the atmosphere. We'll talk about that. We'll have an off grid discussion, and we can vote on that. And like I said, if nobody else brings us anything, then it might be a go. So Derrick Cole, hey, hold that in the chamber.
That means I just lit a fire up under our listeners' derriere. So y'all better come with it. That means if you don't come with it, we gonna come with it, and then I ain't gotta come out my pocket. How about that? Y'all better come on.
That's what's up, man. Listen, So, hey, as always, fellas, man, definitely appreciate it. You know, we do this because we love Atlanta sports, man. We're gonna continue to do this. We're gonna continue to push this out. Banks, man, you know, hey, it is what it is, man. We're gonna continue to put it out. Also, before we close this thing out, I got some Derek Cole. I hate you weren't able to join us. Obviously, had your feet kicked up out there on the cruise somewhere in the Caribbean, but we did have a special guest, man, live show, man. It went down, man. Shout out to our boy Rox Fontaine over there at Chop Podcast. Hopefully, man, we'll be able to collaborate with them. But I just found out. I just got this today, fellas. We got like 3 guests lined up to join us on the show. Yeah, man, I got some guests that's gonna come through. They coming through for you, boy, man. I don't reached into my bag, man. So coming up here soon. I don't know when. So y'all gotta stay tuned, man. But I got some guests, man, and they're gonna come in and they're gonna drop in and we're gonna have some fun. Banks, man, we're gonna close this thing out, man. Let everybody know where they can find you, man, and how they can get at you.
You guys can find me at Antoine Jarrell Banks on Facebook, or you can find me at Baby Banks 80 at Instagram. Don't have Snap. I do not have Twitter or X anymore. The hell with those guys over there, whatever the hell they doing. But yes, reach out to me, fellas or ladies, whoever who's out there. I will be responding accordingly.
And he didn't say it, but he's still looking for somebody to help him out with his social media
Absolutely
account.
not. Absolutely not. That's not
He
true.
still is.
Not,
He still
do
is.
not listen to that.
Listen,
That is not true.
if you want to help Banks out with his social media accounts, you can also email the show at theLeoGshow@gmail.com to help Banks. Hashtag help Banks out. Hashtag help Banks out. Email us, theLeoGshow@gmail.com. Derek Cole, let everybody know where they can find you.
Hey man, y'all can reach me on Facebook at Stacy D Derek Cole. You can reach me on the Twitter at Derek Cole _. No, I'm giving y'all no. Hold up, I'm getting a mix. I got so many. Hold on. The Twitter is DizUSDD96 on the Twitter. On IG is Derek Cole _Virgo. You can find me on the Snapchat DJ K06. I think that's all I got. I ain't gonna give out my old MySpace and AOL chats and
Black
all
Planet.
Everything he named the first time was before Derek Cole.
Exactly. So
BB.
just letting you know, I don't even know if the thing's still active, but that's where you can catch me at. And also you know where you can catch me at. Right here.
Hey, that's what's up, man. Hey, listen, fellas. Always a pleasure, like I said. So you can catch the show for now at the Leo G Show, the #1 on X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. You can catch the show for now still at that handle. You can also catch me on my personal account. That's at Southern Set with 2 T's, as you see it scroll across. Derek Cole, we did put it up so they can see it scrolling across. If they want to catch you out there in these Twitter streets. Fellas, a couple of more things here before we close this thing out. August the 6th. Little Birdie just told me, man, something special is going down over there at the park up there in Cobb. I'm not gonna spill it. You got to research it to find it. I don't know if we're gonna drop this thing, but listen, something's going down. So you might want to get up there.
You gonna make it this time? Y'all gonna make it this time?
I don't know, man. You know how this goes.
We all need to make a point to get on up there. That's on the Tuesday.
I don't know. Look, listen,
I'm gonna be put in for a date for that day.
Them tickets
already on my calendar.
Started going. Them tickets are started the go. So we need to look at this ASAP.
All you gotta do is get the nosebleed. You ain't trying to go in there and sit down and have a whole
standing room.
Go in there and turn around like I did when I got my ring. And walked in there, got the ring, and turned right around and went out.
Go in there and go to the Chop House, and then
Chop House. There you go, right there, Banks. Go to the Chop House
and do it. So yeah, so I'm not gonna drop what's gonna happen, but August 6th is what's going on over there. Also, shout out to Atlanta United doing something big here, man, because they beat Messi and the boys down there in South Florida. I don't know. We're gonna air this theme, man, but that's pretty significant. Shout out to Atlanta United. They've been having a crazy season over there. We were able to put an L in the column of Inter Miami down there. And the Messi boy, I call them the Messi boys, man. That's who they are. They the Messi boys. But Atlanta United caught fire, man. Shout out to them. They were able to do their thing down there in South Florida, man. And I'm definitely be supporting them coming up here, man. Got a big weekend as we record against a regional rival with Charlotte. And I'm gonna be in the building against the regional rival, man. I haven't missed. I've been to Charlotte. I've been in all of the game and all of the 4 or 5 games we played against Charlotte FC. I've been in attendance in Mercedes-Benz, went up there for the first one up there in Charlotte. Banks was riding shotgun with me 3 o'clock in the morning all the way up there. Derek Cole, he was bougie with that one. I think. Did you fly up there for that one, Derek Cole?
D-bus.
Oh, you took the luxury bus or something like that. But we was all up there, man. We do this thing big, man. So shout out Atlanta United, man, as we roll into this weekend against a regional rival in Charlotte FC. Man, doing big things, man. So listen, this has been another edition of the Leo G Show, man. Once again, like I said, I keep repeating, I appreciate you guys, man, and what we do and are able to add to the Atlanta sports culture. And we're going to catch you guys on the next go round, man. Hope you enjoyed it.